Good afternoon, everyone. It is Tuesday, April 5th, and we have one of the most active weather patterns and weather map that could possibly exist. And in fact, it's not just happening right now. It's going to continue to next week as well, and even probably the second half of April, say expert forecasters. This afternoon, we have a strong storm system located in the Dakotas with a trailing cold front. This system is responsible for bringing heavy snow to parts of the upper parts of Minnesota. Only 1 to 3 inches of snowfall accumulation expected, however. But there are winter storm warnings in effect for higher amounts in the higher elevations. On the southeast part of the storm system, you actually have to go all the way down to the southeast part of another storm system, which is located in the Texas-Oklahoma area. These two storm systems will be colliding over the next day or two, producing one large, strong storm system. But you go down into Texas and Oklahoma, you have a severe weather risk taking place down there. Go further east into Georgia, especially Georgia, in northern Florida and South Carolina. All those areas are receiving tornadoes. There are tornado warnings in effect as we speak, in fact, until 4:30 p.m. The Peachtree, Georgia National Weather Service is responsible for issuing a lot of those warnings, but same with the Tallahassee, Florida National Weather Service, and there's also a place in the South Carolina area. We also have flash floods occurring in those areas as well. Some of these tornadoes were radar indicated as a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado. However, 2 of them have actually been confirmed. One of them was confirmed by law enforcement, so that's a higher level. Just being confirmed by a person, being confirmed, that's a higher level than a radar, something which has a severe thunderstorm which has the potential to produce a tornado. Some meteorologists want to warn the public that whenever there's a severe thunderstorm warning, just treat it like a tornado warning, because these severe thunderstorms can produce tornadoes, a pop-up tornado, without even anybody knowing about it. So areas which do have a severe thunderstorm warning, people in those areas would want to watch out. This severe weather outbreak is going to continue for the next few days. The storm system that is coming together tomorrow, that thing is just barely going to move. It's going to remain situated over the Great Lakes area, bringing precipitation to a large part of the area. But northern places, like here in Chicago, will have on and off pretty much light precipitation, but there could be some heavier amounts tonight. And towards the end, some of that precipitation may be falling as snow. We have places like Thunder Bay, Ontario, Canada, probably anywhere from 3 to 10 inches of snow, maybe even more. It's very difficult to figure out the exact amounts. That's because of the rain-snow line, and to figure out how much melting will be taking place during the day. That means even if the National Weather Service is telling us that, or the official amount might be 9 inches of snow, you might only see 6 inches on the ground, because snowfall accumulations are taken every 30 minutes. Then the bucket is emptied out. So you add up how much snow fell in each 30-minute period, you get the total amount of snow for the day. But by the end of the day, there might actually be less snow on the ground. Chicago has suffered through some storms like that before, where 11.2 inches was the official amount, but on the ground there was significantly less. That might be taking place up north today in regards to this storm. But also the high winds are tremendous on the backside of the storm. Even in the storm, 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts in the plains with high wind warnings are in effect. AccuWeather says some areas may even get 80-mile-per-hour wind gusts. This is phenomenal stuff. This is not even within thunderstorms. Also, there could be some convective precipitation occurring with that snow. So a snow band with possibly some heavier amounts of more than 6 inches of snow is possible in parts of the North Dakota area in connection to upsloping, or maybe even not in connection. That might be separate. Upsloping could be occurring tomorrow, especially producing intensifying precipitation rates to higher amounts than 6 inches. That's why we have a winter storm warning in effect for some locations, a winter storm watch in effect for other areas. Environmental Canada has issued a heavy snow warning. They issued their warnings differently. They have a different system. They don't have the winter storm warning. That's in effect for Thunder Bay, Ontario, Canada, for tomorrow all the way through Friday, I believe. Some areas over there actually might be getting 18 inches of snow if you're close to Lake Superior and you're in a higher elevation. Other areas might only be getting 3 inches of snow. So that's why it's complicated. When you try to look at AccuWeather, it's a little bit complicated. But the National Weather Service forecast discussion informs us of that. We are going to come back to the snow in just a minute because it's not over. Let's go to the desert Southwest where we have a tremendous heat wave developing. Temperatures mid-90s for Los Angeles by Thursday afternoon. That will be breaking the old record of 92 degrees, 94 degrees Thursday afternoon in Los Angeles. We're about to go through a few days with temperatures in the 90s. Some areas will be reaching its peak Thursday and Friday. Other areas like Blythe, I think it's Blythe, I think that's going to be on Shabbos. There's a 60% chance of temperatures hitting 100 or going higher than 100. We have places solid mid and upper 90s in Phoenix, Arizona for the next few days, and some areas will be passing 100 degrees. Some cities will be breaking records for the date in the desert Southwest. Another record-breaking situations taking place due to winds, which are occurring. Well, we have a record-breaking situation taking place in South Texas. Then we have just a really warm situation taking place in Amarillo, Texas, due to also down-sloping winds. But Brownsville, Texas, likely to break a record from 103 years ago as temperatures pass 100 degrees. We have other cities in Texas also breaking records. Falcon Lake, Texas, temperatures are going to be scorching hot, along with Rio Grande Village, as usual. This is just brutal heat. Some areas are only going to be getting it for a day, and that's either for Wednesday or Thursday. Some areas will be getting it for more than a day. And speaking of getting things for more than a day, so we have really cold air coming into the Midwest and the East Coast for the next few days. Things heat up for tomorrow and then heat up on the East Coast for tomorrow or Thursday. Chicago gets a little bit mild for tomorrow, but in Kankakee, the south suburbs of Chicago, areas just to the south, temperatures are going to be significantly warmer than the Chicago area, but actually not by that much. That type of a situation is actually going to be taking place next week. Tomorrow, it's really going to be kind of the same all over because the cold front is pushing through tonight. Precipitation moves through. What's very interesting about this front is that although the cold front moves through tonight, the cold air doesn't arrive until tomorrow evening. So temperatures are actually going to be mild tomorrow. The mildest day of the week will be happening tomorrow. Since the whole area will probably be in the same air mass, temperatures might not be that much warmer down south. Next week's air mass is next week's situations where we're going to have that possibility here in Chicago as temperatures on Monday or Tuesday go into the mid-70s for places just to the south of Chicago and temperatures in the upper 50s perhaps for areas just to the north of Chicago. And then Chicago has to struggle and figure out what highs are going to be over here. So in between now and then, so we have a ridge of high pressure, which is going to be moving into the desert Southwest, producing really, really hot conditions. We have this strong storm system in the upper plains, and we have a storm system in Oklahoma. Both of them are strong. Both of them look like they have a barometric pressure of around 29.2, especially the northern one. And when they collide, it's going to be 29.1 or 29.2. And then as it remains stationary, it's gradually going to weaken. Stationary means it's gradually going to move to the east, but it's gradually going to weaken to 29.4, then 29.5, and then push off to the east as that high pressure from the desert Southwest moves into our area for the beginning part of next week. Some areas may hit 80 degrees. Kansas City, Missouri, highs around 80 degrees, either late this weekend or early next week. We have some areas like St. Louis, Missouri, a 4-day stretch of high temperatures in the 70s. South Bend, Indiana, going for a 3-day stretch of highs in the 70s. Chicago might not even get 1 day. Probably we'll see 1 day. The Washington Post is forecasting, saying Chicago is at risk for not at risk, but receiving the warmest temperature to date next week, which so far has been 74 degrees. So there is a chance temperatures may surpass that reading. As of now, expert forecasters don't indicate such warmth, but that is a good possibility for next week as that warm air moves to the east. The upper Midwest isn't going to see much warmth. Next week is the severe weather outbreak. This is reported by the Washington Post. I wish I could report it myself, but I didn't look at whatever. It reported that the severe weather outbreak for next week will be the first extremely widespread severe weather event of the season for the plains. The severe weather will be going further north than usual sometime Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday next week. The St. Louis area might get some strong thunderstorms anytime during that period, but especially on Wednesday, for those strong thunderstorms. Now, another winter storm develops next week. We're not out of the woods of winter yet. As an Arctic air, an Arctic air mass with temperatures have been moderated, probably from the Pacific Ocean, but not necessarily. But the National Weather Service reports that there has been some moderation in a modified Arctic air mass that comes, but it's cold enough for snow in the upper Midwest. Snowfall accumulations, well, you go to the Windy App, the European computer model shows snowfall accumulations of more than a foot. Forecasts accurately reflect that big-time snow of, we would say, the classic Midwest 6 to 12 inches at the bullseye, assuming there's no thunder, which in April you could get thunder snow. That's a good possibility. We're going to let's I thank everyone for listening. And I know that the weather has been really active in this country today, for the rest of this week, and for next week. Therefore, we have not covered everything, but we do have some meteorologists in Des Moines, Iowa. The National Weather Service just report 3 days of misery. That's actually what they write, that in Des Moines, Iowa, they're expecting 3 days of misery. 3 days of misery means like just nothing is going on for the next 3 days. So in general, we have a lot of excitement going on the weather map, but individual cities might see nothing, might see absolutely nothing, just total boredom. But the weather map shows tremendous contrast in temperatures. And a large storm, is likely to develop next week as it did this week, but next week might even go further north and bring once again those heavy snow to the northern areas. I wish everybody a wonderful day. Have a great week.